Tonight, somewhere on Earth, a person will die completely alone, not surrounded by family, not inside a sacred ritual, not even at home. They'll die under fluorescent hospital lights while strangers quietly walk past the room. And within hours, their body will disappear behind closed doors. Cleaned, processed, hidden. Modern humans have become experts at removing death from everyday life. But for almost all of human history, death was impossible to escape. Your ancestors didn't just witness death occasionally, they lived beside it constantly. Children died. Hunters never returned. Disease spread through entire camps. Predators dragged people into the darkness. For ancient humans, death wasn't rare. Death was the environment. And yet somehow, unlike every other animal on Earth, humans began doing something strange when someone died. They stopped. They mourned. They carried bodies. They buried them carefully. Sometimes with flowers, sometimes with tools, sometimes with food for a journey no one could prove existed. Which raises a terrifying question. Why? Why would a species struggling to survive waste precious time and energy caring for the dead? The answer may explain the moment humans first became truly human. The oldest possible evidence of human burial comes from a site in Spain called Cima de los Huesos, the Pit of Bones. Deep inside a cave, researchers discovered the remains of at least 28 ancient humans, dating back over 400,000 years. What shocked scientists wasn't just the number of bodies, it was where they were found. The cave chamber was incredibly difficult to access, dark, dangerous, hidden far underground. This wasn't where bodies accidentally ended up. Someone brought them there, again and again. One body in particular changed the entire debate. Among the skeletons, archaeologists discovered a single hand axe made from bright red quartzite, beautifully crafted. Unlike any other tool found in the cave, researchers nicknamed it Excalibur. Some scientists believe it may have been intentionally placed beside the dead as an offering. If that's true, then humans were already performing symbolic funeral rituals hundreds of thousands of years before civilization existed. Think about what that means. A creature that still hunted with stone tools, that barely controlled fire, Sedina was already wondering what happens after death. And they weren't alone. In Iraq, inside Shanidar Cave, archaeologists discovered the remains of Neanderthals buried roughly 60,000 years ago. One skeleton became famous worldwide. Around the body, researchers found traces of pollen from wildflowers. The discovery led scientists to a breathtaking possibility. Neanderthals may have buried their dead with flowers. For decades, people imagined a funeral taking place tens of thousands of years ago. Silent figures gathered around a grave, hands placing flowers beside someone they loved. Later, researchers argued the pollen may have been carried by rodents instead. But strangely, even after the debate, the bigger mystery remained untouched. Why bury bodies at all? Most animals abandon their dead immediately. Humans didn't. And that choice changed history, because the moment humans began treating the dead differently, they also began thinking differently about themselves. Death created self-awareness. Imagine standing beside the body of someone you knew yesterday, someone who laughed, spoke, moved, and now suddenly looks empty. At some point, ancient humans realized something horrifying. The body was still there, but the person was gone. That realization may have been the birth of religion, spirituality, and even the human soul itself. Some anthropologists believe funeral rituals were humanity's first attempt to solve the unbearable mystery of consciousness. Where did the person go? Were they still watching? Still nearby? Still existing somewhere beyond the darkness? No animal asks those questions. Humans did. And once they started asking them, civilization may have become inevitable. But ancient death wasn't peaceful. Not even close. Most humans throughout history died violently or young. Before modern medicine, roughly half of all children died before adulthood. A simple cut could become fatal. A tooth infection could kill you. A bad winter could wipe out entire groups. Your ancestors spent most of history surrounded by grief, and that constant exposure shaped the human mind in ways we barely understand today. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer societies noticed something fascinating. Many groups treat the dead as if they still exist socially after death. People continue speaking to them, leaving offerings, avoiding their names, or sometimes refusing to say the dead person's name ever again. In some Aboriginal Australian cultures, the name and image of a dead person become temporarily forbidden. Among certain Inuit groups, newborn children were sometimes given the names of deceased relatives because people believed part of the ancestor lived on through them. Death didn't end social relationships, it transformed them. And ancient humans feared the dead as much as they loved them, because for most of history, dead bodies were dangerous, not just spiritually, physically. A corpse attracts predators, spreads disease, contaminates water. One dead body near camp could threaten everyone. This created a terrifying contradiction. Humans emotionally wanted to stay close to their loved ones, but survival demanded distance. Funeral rituals may have emerged partly to solve that contradiction. Ritual creates order during chaos. Instead of panic, there were rules. Carry the body here. Cover it this way. Light the fire. Sing the song. Dig the grave. The ritual gave humans something powerful, control, or at least the illusion of it, and over thousands of years, death rituals became more elaborate. Some ancient humans buried people with weapons for the afterlife. Others painted bodies with red ochre, symbolizing blood or rebirth. In ancient Egypt, entire civilizations were built around preparing for death. The pyramids themselves were giant machines designed to defeat mortality. Think about that. One of the greatest wonders of human civilization exists because humans were terrified of dying. Death shaped architecture, religion, mythology, government, war. Even agriculture may be connected to death. Some historians believe humans became attached to specific lands, partly because ancestors were buried there. The dead anchored the living, and nowhere was death more visible than at night. Imagine an ancient camp after sunset. No city lights, no hospitals, no funeral homes, just darkness. And somewhere nearby, the body of someone who had been alive that morning. The fire crackling softly while people sat awake wondering the same questions humans still ask today. What happens to us when we die? For ancient humans, those questions weren't philosophical. They were immediate, because death was always close. And strangely, modern humans may be less prepared for it than our ancestors ever were. Today, most people never see a dead body until adulthood. Death happens behind closed doors, hidden behind medical language and sterile buildings. We extended human lifespan dramatically, but we also disconnected ourselves from mortality. Ancient humans had no such luxury. Death taught them constantly. It taught them time was limited, that survival was fragile, that life could disappear overnight, and maybe that's why they valued stories so deeply. Because stories outlive bodies. Long before writing existed, humans were already preserving the dead through memory, retelling hunts, repeating names, passing lives from one generation into the next. In a way, storytelling may have been humanity's first form of immortality, and maybe that's the real reason humans buried their dead. Not because they understood death, but because they couldn't accept forgetting. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors carried bodies into caves, covered them with earth, placed flowers beside them, and stared into the darkness searching for meaning. And tonight, despite all our technology, all our science, all our progress, we're still doing the exact same thing.